Hello, you're watching Avenue X, and today let's continue exploring the 5th chapter of the game, Black Myth Wukong, 日落红尘, Golden Child, Crimson Blood. As usual, I'll first get to, based on the original novel of 西游记, which chapters and what exactly happened in the original text. Then I'll tell you the changes the game science has made, adapting the original text, and what's the current time setting. I'll run through the game as usual and also talk about the ending animation, because I believe this is the animation that can confuse a lot of people if you have never read 西游记. For the main characters you come across in the 5th chapter, they will come from two major sections of the book. First is happening around chapter 40 to 42. The second section is happening from chapter 59 to 61. And then in terms of the bulking character, he actually showed up very early on. Chapter 3 of the whole book, Sun Wukong was still roaming freely. During his travel, he encountered multiple very powerful yaoguais and made friends with them. And there are eventually 7 of them that became a band of brothers. Sun Wukong was actually the youngest and the 7th. Knowing those, let's start with the first section. In chapter 40, the Tang monk Sun Wukong, Zhu Bajie, the horse Sha monk are on their way. They get to a new place, and Sun Wukong very soon realized that there's Yaojing in this mountain. And this Yaojing would be the red boy, Hong Hai'er. He is the son of the Bull King and the Tieshan Gongzhu, Princess Iron Fan, who is also called Luo Chanyu, Rakshasi. Rakshasa and Yaksha are two types of beings in Buddhism, depicted in the most aggressive warrior way. And then in actual Buddhism belief, the Yaksha and the Rakshasa are different. In our game setting, it's said to be that these two races are coming from the same origin. In the book, it just says Bull King's wife. She belongs to the Rakshasa race, and she's actually really powerful. She cultivated since she was very young by herself and got to really high level. In all types of legend, actually a very kind-hearted lady. But here, Hong Hai'er, the red boy, is not living with his parents. Ever since he earned his own place and his own freedom, cultivated to a level where he can command very powerful magic, 三昧真火, the Samadhi fire, he left where he lived with his parents and got to a new place that's kind of run by himself in those mountains. His cave is called 火云洞, fire cloud cave, where he has his own servants, his own subordinate generals, and he's like a little king in his own mountain. He's heard that Tang monk's meat can make you immortal, so he wants to kidnap him and eat him. Knowing this pack is coming his way, he transformed himself into a kid and then pretend that he was captured by bad people and he was hanging upside down with his legs and hands tied on the tree. Sun Wukong can always see through these things easily, but Tang monk cannot. And the first half of chapter 40 was actually going around this whole thing between Sun Wukong telling his Shifu, no, that definitely is a Yaojing, Shifu saying you should save the kid. Eventually, Journey to the West Pack still got under the tree, seeing Hong Hai'er transformed kid being tied up and hanging on the tree. The Shifu forced his 2D to save the kid, and then when the kid got released from the rope, Tang Seng suggested you can ride my horse, and the kid is like, no, I am tied up on the tree for too long. I can't hold on to the horse. Then he said, well, then let Zhu Bajie carry you. Oh, Zhu Bajie, the hair on his back, the bristles are too hard. It's uncomfortable. Tang Seng is like, okay, then let Sha monk carry you. And guess what? The red boy is, oh, he looks so scary. I don't want him to carry me. I want the monkey to carry me. And Sun Wukong knows he's doing it on purpose. They kind of see through each other, but they just don't say it out loud. Sun Wukong is like, okay, fine, hop on my back. And then once the red boy got on the back of Sun Wukong, he used magic to turn himself thousands of kilos heavy. Yet Sun Wukong can still carry him, and then they were secretly testing each other's power out while they're walking. The red boy's spirit jumped out of his flesh body and up into the sky, and he noticed that Sun Wukong realized that and smashed his physical body. Then he turned into a wind and then kidnapped Tang Seng. And at this point, Sun Wukong has really just like had enough. My Shifu never believes what I say. I told him this is a Yaojing and he doesn't care. He still asks me to carry him. See, this is what happens and I'm tired. I want to stop doing this. This is stupid. He took out his staff and started to smash everywhere, and it made such a big scene that all the local deities and mountain gods and great keepers all jumped out and say, oh, what is happening? Monkey King, like, why are you like this? Sun Wukong doesn't shy away. Tell me who this Yaojing again is and making this much trouble for me. And they told him that this is Red Boy. He's called the Sacred or the Sage Baby King. I know the translation sounds ridiculous. 圣婴大王, and he's the son of 牛魔王 and 罗刹女. Sun Wukong is like, oh my god, he's the son of Boy King? Boy King is my big brother. There's no reason why his son should kidnap my 师傅. I should go and just talk to him. Sha Monk reminded him, it's been 5, 6, how many hundred years since you last met your Boy King big brother. How much do you think that they still count you in as one of them? Chapter 41, Sun Wukong and 猪八戒 got to the 火云洞, Fire Cloud Cave, and the little Yao Guais went into the cave to report to Red Boy that they're coming. While Red Boy is getting ready to clean up Tang Seng and ready to cook him and eat him. Sun Wukong told him, I'm number 7, he's number 1. We are very tight bros. And Hong Hai'er, since he's never met Sun Wukong, wouldn't believe that. Hong Hai'er has 5 carts, which you will see in the game version as well, that can create this big fire and very smoky. Sun Wukong is sensitive about smoke and fire because of his eyes, so he decided to go and look for help. He went to the Long King's palace in the ocean and asked him for his help because he controls water. So the Long King went to the Fire Cloud Cave with Sun Wukong and then calling in his brothers, and they start to ring and try to control the fire. But because Red Boy's fire is this samadhi fire that's magical, it cannot be put out by normal water. Sun Wukong is not afraid of fire burning, but he couldn't deal with smoke. So he had to run away from that fire and he jumped into water. And because of the heat and the cold shock that happened in close proximity, it kind of just like stopped him from breathing for a while. And 猪八戒 had to grab him from the water and use his massage magic to bring him back. That part happened in the book, and you will see it at the end of the whole game's animation. The big animation that kind of plays Journey to the West in reverse order. You'll see a sequence, but we will talk about that when we get there, which is next chapter stuff. After Sun Wukong came around and got brought back to life by 八戒, he again started to feel really defeated and crying. 八戒 said they need to go and look for other help. But Sun Wukong is still suffering from the sort of leftover shock and injury. He couldn't jump onto his somersault cloud. 猪八戒 said, then I will go and look for Guan Yin Pusa's help. As 猪八戒 went on his way to look for help, the little Yao Guais in the mountain noticed that. They went back to the Red Boy and reported it. And Red Boy, being a very cunning kid, decided he's gonna stop 猪八戒. So he transformed himself into the Bodhisattva, jumped onto the cloud and went ahead of 猪八戒. Then he lied to 猪八戒 and brought him back to the Fire Cloud Cave and then captured him. Sun Wukong and Sha Monk know they have to do it themselves. Even though he's not fully recovered and still hurting, he jumped onto his cloud, got to the gate of the Fire Cloud Cave, let the Yao Guai see him, and then quickly transformed himself into a luggage bag and dropped onto the floor. So those little Yao Guais, being stupid, took this bag into their cave. And then Sun Wukong took a hair off his body, turned the hair into the bag, and then himself transformed into a fly, and then stayed on the door to listen to what people are talking. He heard that Red Boy has 6 very loyal subordinate generals in a book called 六健将, and their name being 急如火,快如风, 雾里云,云里雾, 新红仙,现红星. And that will be, if you've played the 5th chapter of the game, the 3 pairs of double boss fights you're gonna come across. The Red Boy ordered these 6 generals to go and invite his father, the Boy King, from the Boy King's place to come over to his place and eat Tang Monk together to get immortality. As the 6 generals left, Sun Wukong did the same thing that Hong Hai'er did. He transformed himself into 牛魔王, the Boy King, and then flew ahead and then walked into these 6 generals. Oh, I'm actually on my way to see my son, so let's go together. They got back to Fire Cloud Cave. Sun Wukong started playing father to the red boy. He kept reminding the red boy, maybe you should not try to eat Tang Monk because Sun Wukong is really powerful. He has 72 transformations. And the red boy is like, he's nothing. He got all the Long Kings coming trying to like fight me and my fire burned them all away. It doesn't seem to be he's that powerful. Sun Wukong secretly got really angry, but he had to keep up the pretense. Sun Wukong had no choice but to say that, well, I'm 吃斋 today, which is I'm eating vegetarian today, because this kind of practice exists in Buddhism where either you're completely vegetarian or you pick certain days over a month or a year to eat vegetarian. And Hong Hai'er started to feel doubtful because he's never seen his father eating vegetarian. I mean, thinking about his father is actually a bull. He should be eating grass anyway, but who cares? They're Yao Guai. And Red Boy immediately suspected this is not his real father, so he tested it out, asking the Bull King, well, father, I just realized I forgot my birthday. Because recently I just came across a Taoist monk who's really good at fortune telling, and I want him to do a fortune telling for me, but I need to tell him the exact birth time of mine, and I just forgot. Can you remind me? Obviously, Sun Wukong doesn't know when the red boy was born. Immediately gets found out. He knows Hong Hai'er has this fire that he has no way of dealing with it, so he turned into a flash of golden light and got out of the cave. And Hong Hai'er closed down the cave and decided he's gonna clean up Tang Seng and eat him tonight. Sun Wukong felt actually really good because he played father over Hong Hai'er for a while, and that definitely helped his ego. Decided, okay, now let's go to Guanyin Pusa, Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, and told her that Hong Hai'er transformed into you and trying to fake being you and cheated us, and this made Bodhisattva not happy. And Sun Wukong said he has this modifier I cannot put out. Bodhisattva is like, oh, I have something, I can definitely deal with that. She has this vase she puts into the ocean, and then it comes out on the back of a huge turtle. And even Sun Wukong cannot lift the vase because that one vase contains all the water in all oceans. And because it's in my vase, it becomes a type of water called ganlu, the sweet dew, and it can put out any fire. And then enters the section where basically it's written to drag out the time so the storyteller can spend more time talking about it, have fun, and have all the jokes. Bodhisattva started to say, you cannot carry this is too heavy for you, so I have to send somebody with you. That will be my servant girl, the dragon girl. But my dragon girl is a lovely, pretty lady. I do not feel safe for you to go with her alone and then taking my treasure. And Sun Wukong is like eye-rolling and saying, okay, I'll leave something in your position so that you know I will return your girl and your treasure to you. I'll leave my Jingbu Bang. And Bodhisattva is like, who cares about that piece of iron? How about you give me the back of your neck hair, which is his 救命毫毛, the type of save his life hair that in the game you'll come across in the game plus, where you'll gain this ability to reborn within a battle if you die on the spot. Sun Wukong says, no way, that cannot happen. My hair is like treasure. Bodhisattva is like 一毛不拔, which is a Chinese idiom. Literally means not even wanting to get one hair plucked from somebody. It means this person, they are super tight about their money and they don't want to give up anything for other people. Anyway, that whole sequence just happens, like it doesn't really do anything apart from showing these two people are actually joking all the time. After this whole bantering, Bodhisattva decided to go with Sun Wukong herself. She used the lotus petal as a boat to send Sun Wukong across the ocean, and then she went up with a cloud to see Mu Cha, who is actually a brother of Naja and student of Guanyin Bodhisattva. She told him to go up to the celestial palace and then look for 托塔李天王, the pagoda heavenly king Li. And he has a set of 天罡刀. The full set of them is 36. Bodhisattva is saying, I need all 36. Go and try to borrow that for me. And the Bodhisattva used the mantra to transform all those sabers into a lotus platform. And she took the lotus platform to the fire cloud cave with Sun Wukong. The Bodhisattva wrote a character in the palm of Sun Wukong, just like Maitreya wrote one in our 3rd chapter. It seems like all the Bodhisattvas were just really like doing that. And this time the character is me. As a noun, it means riddle. As a verb, it means deceive someone, befondle someone, confuse somebody. Same way of using it, which is just hold it in your palm and fight this person, and at the right moment, let them see it, and then they will be kind of like going to trance and then following whatever you want them to do. Sun Wukong went to fight with Hong Hai, and he showed his palm halfway, and it made Hong Hai into this weird state and followed him. Then Hong Hai saw Guan Yin Bodhisattva up there in the sky with this lotus platform, and he attacked the Bodhisattva, and the Bodhisattva jumped up into the cloud. The lotus platform is left there hanging, and he finds it really glorious and interesting, and he's never seen one, so he jumped onto the platform, sat on it, and feeling really good about himself, with one mantra, it all turned into their original form, the sabers that just went through the red boy. I cannot imagine how painful that would be. Mu Cha showed up and then pressed the red boy into the knives. But red boy is actually really badass. He would just like grab the saber and then take it out of himself. Guan Yin Bodhisattva used another mantra to turn all those sabers into hooks, and he couldn't pull them out, and he had to admit defeat. And then Guan Yin Bodhisattva asked, do you want to be my student? And Hong Hai said, okay, I'll do it. And instantly on the spot, Bodhisattva took out this knife to shave off his hair and just left 3 patches on his head so that he can make this hairstyle that's classic of Hong Hai. And then Bodhisattva gave him a new name, Shancai Tongzi. The Bodhisattva let the knife fall out of his body. Red boy still wants to attack. He grabbed his spear and tried to stab the Bodhisattva. Guan Yin Bodhisattva took out another golden band and chucked it at the red boy. This is the third one she has. She has 3. Jinggu, Jinggu, Jinggu. They sound very similar, but they're 3 characters. And then they're given to Sun Wukong, kept him basically under control on his head. The other one was given to the black bear of Black Wing Mountain that turned into Guan Yin Pusa's mountain god. And the third one now has found its owner. This golden band actually turned into 5 different ones. It goes on his head, and then 2 wrists, and then 2 ankles, completely shackling him, made it impossible for him to fight back. Guan Yin Bodhisattva actually told Sun Wukong, now fly away. I'm gonna start to chant this mantra that's gonna tighten those bands and make you feel really bad too, so you should get away. Sun Wukong's like, okay, I know. So he ran away, leaving Red Boy there, and then Bodhisattva just like, blah, blah, blah. And then Red Boy just had a taste of how bad those 5 bands would feel, and so from then on, he will be happily, quotation mark, serving the Bodhisattva and being a good boy. Then we have to go to a later section of the book that talks about the red boy's parents. That starts from chapter 59. Our traveling pack got to a place that is Sihali. If you still remember, that is the ancient country that you time travel in chapter 2 of the game in the secret map. Supposedly this is the kingdom where the sun sets. And they got to this place that is very dry, and all year around it's hot, and it doesn't grow even like 1 blade of grass. They found an old man and they asked, why is this place so hot and what it's called? The old guy told them this is called 火焰山, the flaming mountain. Then they ran into a young man who's actually selling cakes. And Sun Wukong asked this young man, how do you even get this? You cannot grow anything here. And then he said, well, there is a immortal. She is called the Iron Fan Immortal, and she has the magic. When she uses her fan, it will stop the fire burning in these mountains, and twice it will create wind, and 3 times it will start to rain. It is in a place called Cui Yunshan, Emerald Cloud Mountain. Sun Wukong is like, no problem, I'll get there in a blink. He went to the Emerald Cloud Mountain and then asked around and find a woodlogger and got information. The woodlogger said, well, we don't call anybody Iron Fan Immortal. We have an Iron Fan Princess here. She has a fan that can definitely put out fire, and she is the wife of the Bull King. And Sun Wukong is like, oh no, not this family again, because of what has happened to Red Boy. She just greeted him with swords and started fighting with him straight away. And Sun Wukong is like, oh, sister-in-law, don't do this to me. Like, I'm here with goodwill. The Rakshasa princess is still very angry, and there's no way that she's gonna lend her fan to Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong is like, if you really feel angry, like I can let you hit me, I'll just stick my neck out and you can cut it. The Rakshasa princess just used a saber to just chop his head, but obviously you cannot injure Sun Wukong with that. So she used her magical fan to just do this, and it blew Sun Wukong away. And because the magic of the fan is so strong that Sun Wukong was in the air for a whole day, finally landed, and he is already 50,000 miles away. Then he remembered the encounter was the rat of the game chapter 2 and Lingji Bodhisattva, who's got 2 treasures that can deal with wind. And in the novel, when they dealt with Huangfeng Dasheng, the yellow winged sage, they used the staff. There should be another treasure. So he went to look for Lingji Pusa. And Lingji Bodhisattva is actually really marveling at Sun Wukong's ability. Iron Fan in Mordo's fan can actually get people fly for 84,000 miles, and you landed after 50,000. That means like you're really good. I'll lend you my Dingfengzhu, the Wind Tamer, which you would actually already gotten in the game by this point. Sun Wukong thanked the Bodhisattva and took this bead and went back to Tieshan Gongzhu's place, had another fight with her, and she started to use her fan again, and realizing this time somehow she couldn't move Sun Wukong an inch with her magic, and she got scared and ran away. Sun Wukong then turned into again a little bug, jumped into her tea without her noticing it and got into her tummy and then pole dancing again. The Iron Fan princess felt so much pain that she had to yield and promised she would give the fan to Sun Wukong. So Sun Wukong took the fan and then went back to the flaming mountain, trying to get rid of the fire on the mountain. Supposedly you just need to do it once and it will already stop the fire. Yet he did it once and the fire got even bigger. That was surprising. Sun Wukong and his shifu and everybody had to retreat even further. A grid keeper showed up and he told them that the fan is fake. If you really want to get a real fan, you probably have to go and look for Dali Wang, big power king who is Niu Mo Wang, the bull king. Chapter 60. The grid keeper told Sun Wukong and everybody else, this mountain actually wasn't here a couple of 100 years ago. Suddenly, one day, a huge thing fell from the sky that is burning hot, landed here and created this landscape. And that turned out to be a couple of bricks that got kicked out of the furnace by Sun Wukong when he was making a mess up in the celestial heavens. You remember he got trapped and captured and put into the furnace and got burned for 49 days. When he got out, he kicked it over and then some hot bricks just fell to human realm, and then that created flaming mountains. Karma is a bitch, hey. It finally caught up with me. Now I am in front of this mountain and cannot cross. Bull King married this princess, Iron Fan princess. They were together for many years. They had a child, which is the red boy. But then one day, the Bull King kind of abandoned the wife and went for another girl who lived in a place called Jileishan, accumulating thunder mountain. That would be the literal translation. In the cave called Mo Yundong. This lady actually is a fox, and she's the daughter of a 10,000-year-old fox guai. And that old fox died, and he had a huge treasure left, and it got inherited by this lady who is Yu Mian Huli, the jade-faced fox. Supposedly a really pretty fox, Yao Guai lady. She has so much money and she just doesn't know what to do with it. And so she's looking for a husband who she thinks is qualified enough to share the fortune with her. So he left the Iron Fan princess and went for the fox lady. If you want to get the fan, maybe you should first talk to him and see if he has any way to get the fan out of his wife's hand. So Sun Wukong went to this mountain and this cave and immediately ran into the Jade Fox. And the Jade Fox is really angry. The Bull King only came here for like 2 years and I've already gave him all my fortunes and you're still talking about trying to get him back to his wife? Dream on. And then she went away, closed her cave, and then went to complain to the Bull King who's in her place and saying there's this monkey who came over and saying he's your brother and saying he wants you to go and get the fan from, your wife. The Bull King came out and confronted Sun Wukong. What the heck are you doing? You literally sent my child away. You have the audacity to come over and ask my help? Well, let's have a fight. If he wants to, he can do it forever with Sun Wukong, and you probably will never find out who is stronger. The fight lasted for hundreds of rounds, and there's no one winning or losing. Then somebody showed up and told the Bowl King that somebody is asking you for like a previous appointment you've made with them. Like, have you forgotten? And the Bowl King is like, oh, okay, yes, I have a banquet I need to attend. And apparently, like, I'm too busy fighting, I forgot. Sun Wukong, stop it here. Like, we can do it later. I need to do stuff and attend businesses. So goodbye. Sun Wukong got left there, just like hanging. So during those couple of 100 years that I haven't met you, you've made new friends, hey? Who are they? Slightly jealous. He secretly followed Bowl King and realized he went down the water. So this whole banquet is held by the underwater creatures and the yaoguais. Sun Wukong transformed himself into a crab and walked into this banquet, but because he's an unfamiliar face, he got captured by the other prawns and water creatures, soldiers, and he just like said, oh, I didn't know I walked into something like this. And maybe those water creatures are just like simple and kind, and let him go. And he spent some time, and then he walked to the gate and saw Bowl King's bride, which is Bishui, Jing Jing Shou. And you'll come across him in the secret map of chapter 5 of the game. Sun Wukong is like, I cannot afford waiting for him forever. Maybe I should just take it into my own hand. Basically, it's Bowl King's limo parked there, and Sun Wukong stole it. He rode this beast out of the water and then to Iron Fan Princess, the Rakshasi's place. And because he's already transformed into the Bowl King, so he walked into her palace and saying, I'm coming back, you know, husband is back, wife, how are you doing? And the princess is actually quite surprised, told him that there's a monkey who's trying to get my fan. They had dinner, they drank. When the princess got half drunk, she started to... And I haven't seen my husband for a while. Sun Wukong just had to play with it. Pretty funny to read that part. And he kept luring her and telling her, where is the fan actually hidden? Please hide it well so that the monkey wouldn't find it. And then the princess is like, he's never gonna find it because it's in my mouth. So she actually... I don't know, like it's magic. There's this tiny fan that she hides in her mouth. With some mantra, it turns into its real form, which is big. And then she even like did it in front of him. So Sun Wukong saw the whole process, like a witch strand. Like you have to hold up and then chant witch mantra to turn the fan into its real form and then use it. And then when he remembered all that and he showed up in his real form and grabbed the fan, while that is happening, the Bowl King in the banquet underwater has finished everything. He walked to the gate and trying to get on his ride and realized, holy shit, my limo is stolen. And then he heard other people talking about, well, there was a crab that got like captured by soldiers and got let go. And then he realized it must be Sun Wukong who stole it. And he's like, huh, you monkey. He got really angry, head straight towards Rakshasi's palace because he knows the Sun Wukong would be going there in the next step. Chapter 61. The Bowl King successfully caught up with Sun Wukong, and seeing him already holding the big fan on his shoulder, he knows now he did not only get the fan but also figure out how to use the fan. If he approaches the monkey now, he will just use the fan and then blow himself away. So the Bowl King decided, okay, I have to play a trick on Sun Wukong. He transformed himself into Zhu Bajie. They know each other like from a long time ago, so he knows what Zhu Bajie looks like. And then walked up to Sun Wukong. And Sun Wukong, because he's really happy he got the fan now, he's like not paying attention. And the Bowl King Zhu Bajie is like, oh, let me see it. Can I take a look at your fan and see how great the treasure is? He got the fan and then turned back to himself, and he tried to use the fan on Sun Wukong, but because Sun Wukong has the wing tamer on him, so he couldn't be blown away. The Bowl King was a little bit surprised. They started fighting again. While that's ongoing, the town monk's been waiting for Sun Wukong and then not seeing him coming back, so he asked his other students, the pig, the Sha monk, go and look for your Da Shi Xiong. So they went, and then they happened to walk into the battle of Sun Wukong and Niu Mo Wang. And Sun Wukong told Zhu Bajie, well, the Bowl King just transformed himself into you and then cheated the fan out of my hand. And Zhu Bajie got really angry. How dare you transform into me? So he joined the battle, made this battle lasting a lot longer, and Niu Mo Wang started to got tired, and then he retreated until he got to the gate of the fox. The concubine lady fox realized her husband is being surrounded by all these people, so she got all her little Yao Guais in her cave coming out to help Niu Mo Wang, and they got swamped by all those Yao Guais, so Sun Wukong and Zhu Bajie had to run away. It's only a very short break of the battle before Sun Wukong and then Zhu Bajie, and they got all the Tu Di and little deities of the region coming together and headed towards the fox's cave again and started another round of fight. It was so loud and so big that it awakened and then startled all types of deities and immortals in heaven and earth all came out and see what is happening. After this fight, Sun Wukong then went to ask Zhu Bajie what's been going on while I am a giant and fighting with the bull, and Zhu Bajie reported, well, I got rid of the Bull King's concubine and her whole cave. In the book, it is really Zhu Bajie using his 9-tooth rake that basically smashed the fox lady and then destroyed all the other little Yao Guai in her cave. The Bull King came back to his real form and then ran back to his cave and closed the door again. And the Rakshasi princess is like, there's no way we can win this fight. It's gonna continue forever. Let's just give the fan to the monkey and let him take it and let this be done. But the Bull King is like, no, I cannot just like yield this easily. They took my son and then they killed my concubine and now they want to take my treasure away and I can't allow that to happen. And eventually the fight turned into a huge one where all types of people got caught in, including哪吒, including 托塔李天王, the Li, heavenly king with the pagoda. They used all types of magic to basically control him. And the princess comes out and saying, we will give the fan to you, just let my husband and the Bull King go. And the Bull King is like, okay, from now I'm gonna submit to Buddha and Bodhisattva and Buddhism teaching. Gave the fan to Sun Wukong, allow him to use it to take out the fire of the mountain so they can walk past. This princess said, if you just do this 49 times, it will permanently erase the fire. He did it and it did turn out to be true. So he gave the fan back to this princess, and the princess from then on also becomes a Buddhist, and she went to cultivate secretly, hiding in whatever place, and eventually actually achieved great cultivation and enlightenment. And so that's how like her story ends. That kind of is like the end of the whole story of the Bull King family. I don't know what to think about it. It just feels really sad. Satire, like piece of writing that talks about the personal freedom versus the system. And if you think about the original author, his whole life story, that if we have time in another individual video, we can talk about it. It kind of reflects that quite a lot. Our game setting takes place a couple of 100 years after the end of Journey to the West, because Bull King is one of those big Yao Guai that got taken in by Bodhisattvas and Buddhism side of things. And he is the one who has the tightest and closest relationship with Sun Wukong because they used to be brothers. And what was given to him is Shen Ben Yong. He kept the relic in one of his stomach and never showed it and used its power. But the thing itself has such strong power that it corrupted his health so that he became weaker and weaker. And during those hundreds of years of time, something happened to Red Boy. He found out about his real origin. This part is made up by game science. In the book, it's clearly the case that he is biologically the son of the Bull King and the Rakshasi princess and the Iron Fan immortal lady. But in our game, he actually is neither the Bull King's kid nor the Rakshasi's biological kid. He is a spirit that got implanted into the Rakshasi princess' belly by the magic of the childbearing river's water to give him a physical body. And the story started quite a long time ago, before his birth. If you read the portraits, you'll find out what happened was, many years ago, there was a war that happened between Lingshan, the Ling Mountain, the Buddha side, with a race called Yaksha. Yecha. They are a legendary mythological race who are warriors who have a lot of power. And the Yaksha race, they have a king who eventually ended up in this battle with the Buddhism power and then lost the battle and his whole kingdom wiped out and most of his people killed. And at the end of the whole thing, in his palace, when there's hardly anybody left alive but only him and his son, somebody coming from up above, that's very likely coming from Taoism side of things, showed up to him and said, it's already a lost battle. You're destined to die and your race is destined to get wiped out. If you still want to keep even just one last seed of your race, this is what we can do for you. So they used the magic to extract the spirit of his son, at the time is still only a baby, concentrated the spirit power of this kid into a lotus flower and put the flower in the magical bowl. And then they told the Yaksha King to keep this thing not dissipating in the bowl so that we can find future and opportunity to seed this spirit of your son into somebody that can be born into physical form. You have to give up your life. And then the Yaksha King willingly agreed. So whatever he did, he killed himself and used his whatever power to keep this lotus spirit of his son alive. Then they found the perfect person to carry on the lineage of this race, which is Princess Rakshasi. The Rakshasa race is related to Yaksha in Game Science's version of 西游记 and the world setting. So when the Yaksha race got wiped out by the Buddhism power, pretty much the Rakshasa people also got wiped out because they are just the kings and they're related. Left over Rakshasa race got scattered everywhere, including their princess. At the time, she is a refuge and she's running away from the west and into the east and encountered the Celestial Palace Taoism immortals. It's likely because of her power, also because of her background, she's a princess of that race, that she got taken in by Taishang Laojun's people in power, and she called Taishang Laojun her 师傅 because she's biologically and racially related to Yaksha, so she's the perfect person to carry the child of the Yaksha King. But the Yaksha King is dead, and it's only the spirit of his son that exists as this lotus form. And there's this river in 西游记 called Childbearing River. If you drink from this river, regardless of who you are, whether you're a guy or a girl, you're gonna get pregnant and give birth to a kid. So diverse. So in our game version, basically, Rakshasi, the princess, is a surrogate mother. It's a pretty twisted kind of story. And then in our game version, her closest confidant, the person who knows everything, is actually Tu Di, the grid keeper, the guy in the white robe and a hat. When they were up in Celestial Palace, he used to be a student also of Taishang Laojun, and he's one of those servant boy who fans the furnace all the time. And Rakshasi joined Taishang Laojun's students as a later comer, but as his senior, and he was initially not happy about that. But later fell under the spell of the beautiful princess, and he is always secretly in love with her. But her whole life is basically controlled by other people. She got arranged marriage to the Bowl King by her 师傅. She got pregnant by her 师傅's order. She literally has no choice. So they have this weird relationship where they are 师姐 and 师弟, the elder sister and younger brother, but also he is secretly in love with her. She is relying on him, but not always fully trusting him. And then another thing Game Science has added for this part of the story is they created a new character called Pingping, a fox, who is the daughter of the Bowl King, and the fox, the 玉面狐狸. So these are the essential characters and changes the game has made based on the original novel. Now, let's run through the game. When you enter Chapter 5 the game, you are literally in the middle of a battle. At the gate of Flaming Mountain, there are only little yaoguais. It's easy to fight, and you're fighting it with 猪八戒, but it's a mess, so just be prepared. Once you finish all those little yaoguai, you enter the gate, and then you found the first shrine, and then you immediately encounter a very important character, NPC, the last secret map guide in this whole game. He's called 号府力士. Initially, you'll fight him because he mistaken you as a bad guy, and he will tell you that Honghaier, the red boy, has created 5 cards that have magic and that have made a mess. He needs to beat all those cards, and if you want to help him. And this 号府力士 is actually a general under Yang Jian. He's the final one. First chapter Snake, second chapter Boar, third chapter Goat, fourth chapter the multi-handed centipede, and this guy is the last one, and his name in the legend is Jin Da Sheng, and he's a buffalo. So you talk to him until conversation exhausts, open up a couple of treasure boxes, go up and fight the first fiery card. After winning that, you'll see another shrine and you register there and you keep going. The map of Flaming Mountain is very linear. There's no going around in circles, multiple layers, none of that. You pretty much just go one way and then it will lead up to the final place. After fighting the first card, the second, the small boss, would be Father of Stone. Of the mountain gods you come across in second chapter. And when we talked about the Mother of Stone story, we didn't say where he went. Well, now you know. He went to Flaming Mountain. When they were back in Yellow Winged Ridge, one day, some girl rushed into the cave where Father of Stone lives. Father of Stone wants to chase her away, but then found out that she's actually really good at cooking. And he really likes to eat good food. So he allowed her to stay, and she cooked for him every day for a while, and he got used to the good food that got served by this human girl. Then he found out this girl actually escaped from her home because she was forced into a marriage that she doesn't want. One day when she's out washing her clothes, she got seen by villagers and they found her. So they all came to the cave and tried to get her back. The Father of Stone, being a very powerful Yao Guai, stood guard and blocked all the villagers, and those villagers came every day insulting them until one day they said, we're gonna go and find a Taoist to come and then subdue you Yao Guai, and then take the girl back. And the Father of Stone insisted he's gonna protect the girl, but the girl felt guilty about bringing the Father of the Stone into this mess. So one night she escaped and then fell from a cliff and died. He got really devastated. So he took the body to Flaming Mountain because he's heard the reputation of Tie Shanxian, the Iron Fan Immortal, who has great power and very kind heart. But the princess told him she cannot resurrect a dead person. She's long gone. But the Father of Stone is extremely obsessed with bringing the girl back, so he didn't want to let go. And when you confront him in the game, he shows up. He has a skeleton that he held in his arm, and that is the dead girl. If you've already beaten Mother of Stone, and then in this chapter you destroy Father of Stone and you read their portraits, you're gonna go like, oh my god, I'm such a bad person. I killed them. They didn't do anything wrong. They're actually good people. Or good Yao Guai. Wait till you get to chapter 6. You're gonna come across their son, and then if you kill all of them and you read all their portraits, I'm such a bad person and kill them all. But then if I don't kill them, I wouldn't know their story. If you check the journal and the portraits, literally if you come across a Yao Guai and you don't kill them, they will show up as question marks. You would not be able to know their story. It's like not there. You have to actually destroy them to know their story. In that way, game science is really like, you psychos. But anyway, that's the story of the second family member of the Stone family that you're eventually, if you play through a game, gonna kill. When you kill the Father of Stone, you'll be able to open the door, and then you'll confront the second card. Once you get through it, you'll hear a girl crying, help me, and you'll see a fox that's being tied up, or her legs, and then hanging on a tree and calling you to save her and saying her parents are all controlled by bad guys and she's been like hung up there for like 3 days. And then, does that sound familiar? Red Boy story in chapter 40. This is a game version. So you cannot trust her, but hey, you know, you are the monkey, you have to do it, so you save her. Before you save her though, you have to fight 2 bosses, and that's the first pair of double boss. That's based on the original novel, Red Boy's 6 Generals, 急如火,快如风. And it's actually really fun because one of them floats in the air as the long tooth and hairy hair floating guai. The other is a chopped off head that looks like a stone that's rolling on the floor of your battleground and breathes fire. There's one way of fighting it, which is just kill the head on the ground first, but he will still be there. Once you've finished doing that, you can thrust your staff, which is one of the stands you can choose, and then just literally play him like the pool. You're hitting the head and make it fly away so that it hits the head that's floating in the air, and you can actually defeat the other head with this technique. And it looks ridiculous. Once you finish this boss fight, you will save the fox. The fox jumps down and she turns into a pretty girl, and she will say, my name is Pingping, I'm the daughter of Da Li Wang, Big Power King, which is the Bull King. Zhu Bajie will jump out and say, you're lying. Bull King doesn't have a daughter. And then she will say, I am the daughter of the Jade Fox, and you're the pig that killed my mother. And they will have this conversation, and Zhu Bajie will go away, and then the fox will turn into a fox, and she will lead a way for you to follow her, and you will get to a cliff, and you're supposed to jump down. Don't worry, you jump down following the little fox's instruction. For this part of the map, it's quite annoying because there's a lot of lava, and you better equip the fireproof mantle you get from chapter 1, otherwise you can get fire damage. There are a lot of chests you can open in this part and a lot of annoying little stones jumping here and there. Spend a lot of time exploring because you can collect seeds and you can find a couple of really important items. And then you will come across a broken third card, so you don't have to fight it. Red Boy's card, it's already being fought, and you will see a whip that's out of its mouth. If you grab onto it multiple times, you'll hear a line being triggered, and you'll hear the voice of the horse. The horse you've come across in the first 4 chapters. He eventually returned to Flaming Mountain and decided to fight the cards like the buffalo you come across at the beginning of this chapter. Killed the card, but he died too. You couldn't take it yet. After you've beaten all the cards, you can come back and retrieve this whip. You will collect a new transformation where you can turn into the horse and use his lightning whip. He's probably the best character in the whole game. Golden-hearted character who is pure, brave, loyal. He's just a strong, normal horse, and he was purchased by merchants and traveling with them and got into a situation where bandits and yaoguais ate everybody. And the horse is strong, he ran away and collapsed in front of the house of an old man. The old man took this horse in and said, well, I'm a lonely old man and you're the only person I have in my life, so I'll name you after me. I'm number 1 in my family, so you're number 2. So from then on, he's called Ma Er, literally means horse 2. And horse 2 spent a long time with this old man, and the old man nursed the horse back into his health. One day, the old man just collapsed, and this horse took on this old man and ran for 700 miles non-stop to the Flaming Mountain, trying to find the immortal to save the old man. But by the time he got there, the old man is long dead. So the horse didn't go back. He has nowhere to go back to. He started to roam the Flaming Mountain and got mistreated by all the little yaoguais there. One day he came across an old bull by the side of the road, drunken or seems unconscious, and he's on fire. His furs are all burning, but the bull is not waking up. So this horse grabbed this bull, took him to the palace of the Rakshasi princess. On the way, a lot of other yaoguais tried to grab onto them and attack them, but he didn't know what's going on, and he thought they are all bad yaoguais who's trying to hurt them, so he ran even faster and he got a lot of injuries. By the time he arrived, the bull king woke up by Rakshasi's voice, and he realized this old bull is actually the king of the mountain. And Niu Mo Wang, the bull king, laughed and said, from now on, just be my subordinate and I'll teach you everything and I will make you my guard. So the horse, from a normal horse, got an opportunity to cultivate, and he went out his way to trying to save the bull king. So you see him in chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 with all his adventures, and he died in chapter 5 and you got his whip and became him. One of those little stories in portraits that make you like tear up, but you do have an opportunity to beat up the jerk who's responsible for his death. We will come across him very soon. And in this part of the map, you will also come across the second pair of double boss, 云里雾 and 雾里云. They translate them into Misty Cloud and Cloudy Mist. And there's also extensive writing in the portrait about their story, but it's kind of like game science's own invention and it's not that interesting, so I'll leave it out here. After you've done this part, you enter another part of the map. Under the first layer, which is called Rakshasi Palace, you'll come across a couple of weird looking giant, like really huge guai, but they're actually super weak. It's so easy to beat them. Like you need to do nothing to beat them. And the funny thing, I've seen people live streaming fighting these two big giant guys because they're so big. You don't even see their head, you just see their legs. And people are like, look up. For people when they're fighting, just look up and see what's under their skirt because you're curious about this giant model. They're wearing things that definitely has no pants. I managed to like put them down, and when they fall they will actually show their body like just in 1 second, and this is the model. I'll put the picture up. Actually they don't have lower body parts, so they probably don't even pee and poop. I'm just joking. The story about them is also very sad. They are the loyal guard of this princess, and they look really ugly and scary, and to make sure they're presentable and not scaring people off, the Rakshasi princess made masks for them, so they wear the masks all the time. You will come across Gourd in a chamber on the corner of those two giant monsters, and this is the last time you're gonna come across him, I think, in the game. If this is the first round of the game, this is the point you get the best gourd, the ultimate gourd that you can drink 10 times from its content, and this is the highest level of gourd you're gonna get in the whole game. Then you go up to the second level of this palace called the Emerald Hall, something like that, which is based on the Emerald Cloud Mountain. Trigger animation between the Rakshasi princess and the Tu Di, the Great Keeper, the guy who is her Shidi up in the Celestial Palace. But the princess is actually Zhu Bajie. He transformed himself into the princess to play with Tu Di. And Tu Di got fooled and he got angry. He dropped a water, which supposedly is a celestial palace water, into the ground and turned into a battleground. The most Chinese ink painting, black and white, elegant style battleground you have in the whole game. The artistry of that fight is one of the best in the whole game. And a lot of people, when they're playing through this part, don't realize how to use the things in the battle to your full advantage. Because you are in this battleground that's half white, half black, the Great Keeper will sometimes summon those balls floating in the air. They're either white or black. If you run into those balls, couple of them, you're turning to their colors. Once you get a color, you become either yang or yin, so either the white or the black. And if your enemy, for example, is black in color and you're white, then your attack on them will exponentially grow in power. And the second stage of this Great Keeper will turn into a fish, which is the yin-yang yu, the yin and yang fish. And the fish keeps changing color too. He's sometimes white, sometimes black, sometimes yang, sometimes yin. And if you are in opposite color, or if you stand in the opposite color pool, because the pool is always half white, half black, and you hit this fish, your attack will be stronger. And a lot of people didn't know that. And if you follow this rule, it'll make it easier for you to win this fight. But I think 99% of people breeze through this fight, not even using this mechanism and realizing it's in the play. This is also the fight during which you will find the spirit, the ghost of the horse show up. And he will be controlled by Great Keeper to fight you for a while. That's when you realize the horse is dead, and he's probably dead at the hand of the Great Keeper, because those 5 cards have something to do with the Great Keeper helped the red boy to create them. After this fight, you can then go back. The first shrine, you come across the buffalo and talk to the buffalo because you've already beaten 2 cards, and he will say he will come with you and fight more cards. Then you go back to the palace and you keep going. You will encounter him again. There he's fighting the 4th card, and you join him and you fight the card with him. You win together. That would basically make sure the secret map is now fully triggered. You keep running up the steps and you will get to new section of the map that for first time players, this is the most annoying part of the game, where you need to dodge the ball. You'll come across this iron, huge, spiky ball that's running along this mountain path, and you are supposed to run up, and it constantly goes back and forth. You have to dodge it. If you're getting to contact with it, it will kill you instantly, and there's only one transformation, I think, that can make you survive it, but you still don't pass it. You just don't die, but you have to run past it. So that whole sort of dodge the ball thing got a lot of people really angry of the part of the game. If you don't figure out the mechanism, you're likely to die a lot of times. After you dodge the ball and run to the top, you encounter the little fox again, and saying she's got the fan and now it can take out a fire. So she starts to use the fan, and it does take out the fire. And Zhu Bajie is also there, and he will help you in the animation beat the running ball, and then they will both fall under a cliff. Don't worry, Zhu Bajie is not gonna die. It just is in the animation. The fox will lead you keep running up the mountain, and you can follow her and open the last shrine of the game, and then don't keep going because that will trigger the final boss fight, and come back, because when the fire got put out on the mountain, you'll see a new path opening up, and that will lead to the secret map, the only sort of detour and side quest kind of chapter 5. And then there are 2 bosses there. One is a stone, like a Flint Vangaurd, easy to fight. Another is an ugly centipede called 火灵元母, which is like the mother of fire. She's super annoying, and you actually have to pay to fight her. You have to collect this type of like fire thing that you beat the little centipedes previously on this map. You have to have 4 or 5 of them to open this thing that you can fight her. She's super annoying because she will call out the little centipedes, 6 of them around her, to fight you. After fighting these 2 elite bosses, you'll find a new shrine. And then you come across the last card. The strongest card has a huge battleground and very nimble. You will see the already injured buffalo, and he'll be talking to you, and then he will die. After his death, you will be able to open this gate that's sealed by ice, and that's the secret map of chapter 5, Bishui Jingjingshou's cave. The Bull King's ride, the huge lion-like monster who is super strong, his cave. You will see the 5th frog of this game, and then you will also trigger an animation that kind of, again, transports you back in time, where Red Boy was not only just born, and you'll hear a conversation between Rakshasi princess and the Grid Keeper, talking about the origin of this boy. This is also a part of the map where you encounter the 3rd pair and the last pair of the double boss, Xing Hongxian, Xing Hongxing. And the Chinese name is literally just playing with the sound. But then the English is funny. It's top takes bottom and bottom takes top, and it's the ball that's been running you previously. Now you see what's inside, which is a pair of husband and wife. They're just like really nasty, and they take in turns and fighting you, and it's a fun fight, but they're weird. And then you can go through a corridor and open a couple of really important chests in the game. You get the horn and ribbons, and you have to get them because those will help you make a really cool armor. That's the Bull King's armor. No matter what, open all the chests you can come across in this part of the game. Eventually you're gonna fight Bishui Jingjingshou, the Bishui Jingjing beast, who is the ride of the Bull King. He does not stop attacking. And there are multiple ways of fighting him. If you just fight him in the first battleground, you found him, and if you win, it's done. You can lure him to an ice gate and make him breathe fire to the gate. It will open the gate and you can jump through the crack, and it will lead to a 2nd battleground, and he will show up there. And he will fight you with ice instead of fire. And then if you don't kill him here, you just let him do a little bit breathing again, put out a fire for you, then it will lead to a 3rd battleground where you'll eventually fight him and kill him. If you don't do this, you can still play through the whole map, no problem, and still get everything. It's just fun. You will be transported back. You can go back to the last shrine you've just opened by the leading of the fox, and then keep going up and trigger the final fight. You'll see the weak and giant white bull just sitting there, and that's the old Bull King, and whimpering all the time. You will see Pingping, the little fox who supposedly is the daughter of the Bull King. But after conversation she has with the Bull King, you realize she's not a she, she's a he. She's transformed from the red boy. In the portraits, you'll read that actually Pingping, the fox's daughter, and the red boy, they grew up together. They're actually very close brother and sister. And throughout the whole chapter 5, you've never actually met the real princess. So, bummer. If you fell in love with the cute female fox, just know that it's actually a he all the way along. And you fight Red Boy, and he's a multiple stage boss. You'll fight the boy version of him in 2 stages, and if you beat that, then he will transform into the Yaksha King version, which is the true version of him. He has some crazy attack moves, like the huge saber that comes out of his elbow. It's like 50 meters long, and he will attack you in this consecutive move of 5 times, and it's so hard to dodge that. You often die on that. At least for me, it was like that. But eventually when you manage to beat him, he doesn't die on spot. His mother show up, the surrogate mother, who's not really biologically related to him, but still loves him very much. And then you will see the Red Boy Yaksha King refuse to bow and kneel and kill himself. In that moment, the mother and the father kind of just watch their son die, and there's nothing they can do, and chapter 5 ends. Before we go into talk about the ending animation, I want to mention that when you see the relic coming out of the Bull King, and that is the Shen Ben You, the 5th relic in the game of Sun Wukong's, you'll see it's in the form of a glowing ember, and inside of it, it seems to have a pig with 2 heads. And a lot of people don't understand why there's a pig in it. And if you look at all the relics, they're designed to reflect the nature of them. And often they are based on certain legend or mythological things or traditional cultural things in China. For example, the first chapter, it's the double-irised bird that's supposed to be a magical mythological bird that represents sight. Second chapter, it is a music instrument called xun, made with clay, and it has this really sad sound, and it represents hearing. The third one, nose, represented by this 10-tailed goldfish, which is a fish, when you eat it, you don't fart. And the fourth one is a lotus, heart, where it has seeds you can eat, and it's to do with tongue and taste. So the fifth one, the ember with a pig in it, and the pig has two heads, and this is like the third chapter, based on Shanghai Jing, classic of mountain and sea, and it's a legendary mythical creature called Pingping. And Pingping is said to be a creature that looks like a pig with two heads. It's constantly arguing with itself about what to do. So whenever it needs to make a decision, the two heads will be thinking about two things, and one wants to go one direction, the other wants to go another direction, therefore they never move. So they get stuck in one place. And it becomes a metaphor for people who are trapped in a situation and they can't choose between one and another, so they get stuck and cannot move on. That's the metaphorical meaning, and it's used to represent this condition that the Boy King got stuck in. And if you want to see why he is the pig that cannot go anywhere, you look at the ending animation. We have to go through it quite detailedly to know what it means, because like I said earlier on in this video, it gets intercutted between multiple timelines. You start with the image of the pig inside the ember, and you hear Erlang Shen's voice, the bear, the rat of different chapters. You've done this well, you get this relic, you get that relic, and finally it gets to the Boy King. You've worked hardest, so you get the body. The scene cuts to Sun Wukong standing in the middle at the end of the battle, and then the Boy King walks up to him and catches him as he falls, and it cuts to his memory when they first met, when they were brothers fighting the Celestial Palace, and you will see the scene cut to the Boy King listening to Luo Chanyu, Princess Rakshasi, telling him that the boy comes from the childbearing river's water. It's not his biological son, and technically not hers either, but they have no choice. And then you see the red boy shows up behind him and start to complain to him, why don't you give the relic to me? And you find this Boy King is constantly being pulled in different directions and couldn't make up his decision. Like the pig of the relic that represents the difficult situations he gets stuck in. And you also hear this line from the Rakshasi princess holding the fan and saying, just give the fan to the monkey and let the armies retreat. And that comes from the original book, chapter 61. Therefore, what you're looking at the first part of the animation is what happens right around the time Sun Wukong dies in our Black Myth story. And then the second part is intercutting moments of the past of the Boy King, everything he's gone through. And it cuts to the time during the battle in Journey to the West, his concubine got killed by Zhu Bajie. So you see this evil version of Zhu Bajie approaching him and saying, I've killed your concubine, and she actually is a fox. Oh, I didn't expect that. And you see the Journey to the West, Sun Wukong approaching Boy King and saying, don't you realize our only way as Yao Guai to survive in this system is to submit to a higher power, calling other our teachers. We cannot be allowed to roam freely and do what we want. Don't you realize that? And so this is like the dark version, but technically speaking, this type of plot did happen. Although they used to be brothers, when they actually fight each other in chapter 59 to 61 between Sun Wukong and the Boy King, it's pretty brutal, and they definitely go out their way trying to win. And so you see the Boy King going crazy after he heard that the fox has been killed by Zhu Bajie, and he turned into this huge form, and all the deities show up and they use all types of power to control the Boy King and cut his head off. A lot of people, if they haven't read Journey to the West, they wouldn't understand what's going on. They would just see the bull's head got chopped off. He didn't die. You can't actually decapitate the Boy King because his head will just keep growing. And you cut to the present of the animation. At the moment when Sun Wukong died, he told the Boy King that he thought he could be free. After he's done this and that, they will let him go, but apparently couldn't. And he warned the Boy King, the things I became, which would be the relics, do not touch them because they will have negative effect on you. And this is one of the reasons why, unlike the previous 4 Yao Guai kings who really sort of used the power of the relic, the Boy King dare not touch it, but he has to keep it safe, so he kept it in his own stomach and it still affected his health. So this animation basically works in contrast to the opening sequence you have in the game when you see Sun Wukong confronting 二郎神 on the cloud with all the heavenly soldiers, and you have this performance fight before it triggers the whole game. It's a storytelling from the old monkey, whereas in the 5th chapter ending animation, you see how the battle actually happened. Chapter 1 Bear, Chapter 2 Rat, Chapter 3 Huang Mei, Chapter 4 the Centipede, Chapter 5 the Ball King. All 5 of them are present, plus Yang Jian 二郎神, and then they're fighting Sun Wukong together. And the old monkey could be lying all the time, he could be making up stories, and you never found out, even if you play through the 6 chapters, who the old monkey is, and he's the biggest mystery character of this game. And Chapter 5 probably is one of the most highly debated chapter in terms of storytelling among Chinese game players, because it has a quite significant adaptation happening, making Hong Hai not the biological son of the Ball King, for example, making him related to the Yaksha race, and maybe remind you more of a game science's previous works, as they've done the game 斗战神, and then they are definitely fans of other 西游记 adaptation novels. You can see the traces of all that. To me personally, I have no problem with this type of story writing. If anything, I think for canon, very well-known IPs, if you want it to be known by more people outside of your immediate language and culture circle, in the case of 西游记, for example, this thing needs to be reborn and adapted. The only way to make something this ancient keep living in contemporary time and keep evolving and not be forgotten and locked up in somewhere in the storage warehouse and never been discovered again is to keep giving it new interpretations. In history, it was a storyteller's thing that got added on, modified generation after generations for centuries before it arrived at the so-called eventual version, and those characters have morphed so much in time. It would be silly to think there is a canon version that you should stick to and never move away from. That would actually be the doom of this IP, to make sure it dies and not evolve with time. So personally, I have no problem with what they do, and I found it's actually really entertaining because if you noticed, the voice dubber of the Grid Keeper is Bianjiang. Chinese drama watchers on my channel, you know him, right? He's dubbed so many 仙侠 male lead characters. The moment Tu Di opened his mouth in this chapter, I'm like, oh my god, Ye Hua, is that you? And that should conclude my video on the 5th chapter of the game Black Myth Wukong, 日落红尘, Golden Child, Crimson Blood. Thank you for watching X. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy game playing.